photo of yourself and be like, who the fuck is that? Or you feel like you never look good in photos anyway, so why even bother? But bestie, looking good in photos is not by stroke of being naturally photogenic. No, there's ways you can trick that camera into taking a really nice picture of you. And today we're gonna go over a few key tricks. So I'm getting you guys to be more confident in your outfits. Y'all are out there strutting, looking good. As a matter of fact, Victoria left a comment in one video where she said the tips that she used from this channel had her looking good as hell on her trip to Italy, and I want that for all of you. And I want next time, Victoria, when you go to Italy, take me with you, okay? However, let's take things a step further with looking 100 times better in photos so you can be feeling yourself even more. And we're going over it all. Lighting, knowing your angles, what to do with your hands, and most importantly, how to hand your phone over to someone to properly take your photo without it leading to tears or fisticuffs. So first things first, you have got to get your light source down. Now, in the position where I am right now, yeah, there's some light. It's not great. I'd even say that this is not good. It's horrible lighting. Now look what happens when, boom, we go like this. The light is so much better. Like, look at this versus this. This versus this. So you gotta get your lighting right. That is half the battle in your photos, because if you're taking it in some place where it kind of looks like, you know, next they're gonna find that picture on the back of a milk carton, that's the wrong area. So the thing to remember is that your light source needs to always be behind your camera. I'm standing here in front of a window where a lot of natural light is coming in, and my camera's here, and the light source is behind the camera. I'll even show you video of what my light source is looking like. Now, it's gonna be hard to see this because the light source is in front of the camera here, but you see that this is the light source here. This is the camera, and the light source is behind the camera. Now, if you're taking a picture with the selfie camera versus the back camera, obviously, you know, that might cause you to reposition yourself so that the light source is behind the camera. Now, when it comes to artificial light sources, same thing. Your light source needs to be behind your camera. Now, I 1000% suggest that you get one of these like camera attachments for your phone, right? Because we're not always gonna be in situations where we have the best lighting indoors, or it might be nighttime, and that doesn't mean that you can't take a photo. You always want to make sure that you are prepared with the best lighting possible, because honestly, great lighting is about halfway through getting a great photo. Some might even argue it's even more than halfway through. So I highly recommend, regardless of what phone that you have, iPhone, Android, whatever, get a light attachment. Obviously, you want to make sure that the light attachment works for your phone. I'm gonna say that this is going to work on most phones because it basically just clips to the top. So as long as your phone can fit where it can clip on top, there you go. So if you're taking a picture of something, you know, with your forward-facing camera, obviously the light is going to face the subject here with the clip-on light. However, if you're taking a selfie photo, obviously then the light is going to be facing you. Now, sometimes you might be like, all right, I ain't trying to do all of this, like the angling, is the light source this and that and the third, What you do is before you take a picture, do a little bit of a scan with the subject in your phone to make sure that you are in the optimal lighting situation for your situation. Now, there's also these types of light attachments that attach through the MagSafe that you can attach to the phone like that if you have a MagSafe phone, if you prefer something like that. And these lights can get pretty bright. You can change up. I mean, you're not gonna see much light here because the natural light is already so overpowering. If you're interested, I will link these in the description box. Now, the reason why I suggest a light attachment versus just using the flash that's in your phone, I would say use the flash in the phone if like you have no other choice. Even then, I would still say if you have someone else who has a light, have them use their flashlight and use that as your light source versus using the flash in the camera, because I find that when you're taking a photo with flash with your camera, the shutter speed has to be so slow to get the lighting and for the flash and everything to work together that like if you move a millimeter while the camera is taking the photo, you can wind up with a very blurry image. All right, next point is to know your angles. Cameras play games all day, so we have to do things to trick the camera into making us look our best. So here are a couple of tips to trick the camera into taking an amazing photo of you. Because remember, the camera is trying to take a three-dimensional person and flatten it down into 2D. So we have got to do things to contort ourselves to look more 3D, to look like we have more shape instead of looking like some flat 2D object. So when you're taking a photo, like you see how I'm straight on here? Like in a photo, that could make me look like I've got several chins. It could make me look like, you know, very uncomfortable. You know, it could be a little unflattering. Like in real life, you know, she's cute. She's looking good. But then in the photo, it's like, oh. So one thing that you want to do, of many, because there are going to be a couple of opposing tips here, is if you are faced with that dreaded double chin, you don't even have to have a double chin to be faced with the dreaded double chin in a photo because it's like a weird angle. So instead of like holding your head back, what you want to do is kind of like what they call it the turtle method. You slightly push your chin forward to elongate your jawline and you keep your head neutral. So you're not like this and we're not doing this, okay? You keep your head neutral. So look at the difference between this and this, this and this. Let me show you from the side. This and this. And then you might want to slightly tilt your head because, again, we have got to trick these cameras into taking flattering pictures of us because they play games all day. That's all cameras do all day is play games, and we have to have the upper hand. So whatever is closest to the camera is gonna appear larger. So look at my hand here. Like my hand looks big as hell right here, right? Now look how regular sized it looks when I take it away from the camera. Look at that big old hand. Now that's not always a bad thing. There might be certain things that you might want to appear bigger in the photo than you don't. So this is why we have to trick the camera. Now another thing that you want to do when you're taking photos, and let me back up here, and this is also my second time filming this, the first time, and I gotta film it now. I'm supposed to be going to the gym after this, gotta take the makeup off and all that other stuff, but I gotta film this today because tomorrow I'm getting my brows nano bladed and I'm gonna be out of commission for 3 days while it heals. Well, not out of commission, but you know, like if I came on camera with, you know, the big, thick, dirty, stinking brows healing, y'all would be like, ooh. So here's the next step in knowing your angles, right? So you want to think tall and confident as opposed to being like, okay, let me just suck it in. Because when you're sucking it in, it shows, you know? And then when you take a photo straight on, remember I told you how the camera is going to take a 3D, your 3D body, three-dimensional body, and it's going to flatten it into a 2D image, right? Especially if you're gonna stand like this might make you look wider than you naturally are. And it's not that flattering. There's no shape here. It's just like, here I am, you know? So what you wanna do is create some curve with your body. And this goes for, you know, all body types and sizes. So you can put a leg forward, keep your weight on your back leg, push the hip out, boom, like that. And you've instantly got way more shape and way more interest than if you were standing like this. So do you want boom or do you want boom? Okay, and we can still even, you know, perfect this a little bit more to give us more shape. So just to reiterate, we went boom and then boom, okay? Do you want boom or do you want And there's more that we can add on here. Now, next you want to play with arm positioning. Now, if you're standing like this, there's no shape, you might look wider than you naturally are. And quite frankly, this kind of looks like, yo, blink twice if they're holding you hostage. So we already said that we went from this to a more natural this, right? But you can also do things with your arms because if like all your photos are like this, it's like, okay, boring. So play with making shapes with your arms. What I have seen a lot of times, especially when I'm taking photos with my photographer, is she will always have me kind of make a shape with my arm so that my arms aren't like against my body because it'll create a better shape than if my arms are straight on to my body. So you see that? And then you can take it a little further. You can play with your hair. You can play with your glasses. I don't have any glasses on, but you can kind of like do like a fake like tuck behind your hair and do some slight movement. You're not, you know, we're not doing like Vogue supermodel poses, right? Those photos might look a little interesting if you keep the shutter speed, like you just keep snapping pictures, you might get something. Slow movements. So we're here, then we're here, and then we're playing around with the shape. We're playing around. Now remember, we're keeping the jaw pushed forward, kind of like the turtle, so not like this, like this. And then we're playing around. As I like to do like a fake laugh. Now the thing about the fake laugh, like you have to actually make the laughing noise because trust me when I tell you, it comes out looking way more authentic. Like if you're like, you sound ridiculous, right? But them pictures is gonna hit though. So you play around with your arm positioning. You could even cross your arms slightly. You don't wanna do this. This is gonna make you look like you pissed off. You know, maybe just like maybe a little turn to the side. Like you play around with it. Another thing that you can do, and this helps me a lot because sometimes I feel super duper awkward when I'm taking photos, is to use movement. So instead of just standing, you know, I showed you some movement already. Like you make the small little movements in your posing so that you have variations and you have different options to choose from. But to actually move your body, like one of my favorite things is to just capture me like moving. Now when you move, again, you gotta do slow movements. You're not doing a relay race. You're graceful. You maybe or you do like you're walking. But remember, you're creating shape and you're moving. You can do that, right? Now, another angle to consider is also the camera angle. Because if the camera angle is too low, like it can exaggerate things, cause shadows, show things that aren't actually there. But then the more you get to where you're like slightly above eye level, it's good. You don't want to go too high because then it's like, okay, there's too much like headspace up there, but just like slightly up here and definitely not down here. All right, so let's recap really quickly because there's still more to learn here. And coming up in this video, I'm going to show you some more examples of posing from creators of varying body types and sizes. But let's do a quick recap here. So one, you definitely want to make sure that your light source is behind your camera. Make sure that you have a good light source because that is going to be a majority of what makes a great picture, in my opinion. Two, you need to know your angles. We're not doing, you know, these straight on poses like this. You're not tucking your chin in. You want to bring your chin forward, almost like a turtle, to elongate that jaw so that you're not creating double and triple chins. Then you want to know your angles. Instead of standing straight on like this, know your angles, you know? Create slight movement, play with your arm positioning, do a fake laugh. Like these are things that are going to make your photos look even better. You also need to understand the camera angle. You don't want things that are tilted too far down or tilted far too up, you know, especially when you're taking a selfie. When it's slightly above eye level is probably the most flattering angle for, you know, whatever shot that you're trying to get. Now, I'm 5'9", and when somebody's taking my photo and they're shorter than me, if they're taking the photo with the camera like this, probably about 9.99 times out of 10, them being shorter than me and taking the picture like this is going to produce an image where I look condensed and packed, where I go from looking 5'9" to looking maybe like 4'11". And not to say there's anything wrong with being 4'11", but when you take something that's 5'9" and you compress it down, it looks a little weird. Now remember, I told you these cameras play all day, so we have to trick them into taking a good shot. So what I do is I ask them to slightly tilt the camera angle so that it gives me that elongation, and it's not actually giving me elongation. It's just making me look as tall as I normally look in real life. But now let's go to some tips and tricks for what to do when you're seated. All right, so first things first, when you're sitting, right? You don't want to be back up on the chair like this, and you definitely don't want to slouch, okay? Instead, you come to the edge of the seat, right? Because remember I told you these cameras play all day. We have to trick them into taking a good photo of us. So you sit up at the edge and probably at a slight angle. I like to sit at a slight angle, and then I like to cross one leg in front of the other. And sometimes I'll have to show you guys pictures because my photographer always has me do these poses with my legs that feel so weird, but it comes out so beautiful in the photos because, like, you know, sometimes you might want to cross your legs like this, but sometimes what that does is, again, it's like the camera is going to take something 3D and make it 2D, and we have to trick it into, you know, being more flattering. And sometimes, depending on what you're wearing, crossing your legs like this might, you know, expose a couple of things that you weren't ready to expose. You know, unless that's your sort of thing, then go in and let have, honey. I actually wanted to try some poses that I saw on Instagram, so let's try these out together. Okay, so we sit up at the edge of the seat, turn 45 degrees, and then you extend your leg. And then you could still, you know, play with your angles, your arm positioning. Give a fake laugh. Now, whether you're sitting or you're standing, you can also use props to kind of help you, especially if you're feeling very awkward. Now, I just kind of picked up this cat blanket because it was the first thing. But you can use something like this as a prop, maybe even your phone. Or if you've got like a cup, we're gonna pretend this is a cup. Even if it's like a cup or something, and you can use that as a prop. Ditto with these sit down shots, so you're not gonna be like this. You know, you come to the edge, you sit up, extend the legs. Now, even though these were some basic things that I just showed you, and like I said, stick around, I'm gonna show you some more posing tips from some other amazing creators. Even though these are basic, you're still gonna look 100 times better in photos because you're more aware of the fact that these cameras play games all day and we have to trick them. So now you did your part. You know, your angles, the lighting, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Now, you don't hand it over your phone to somebody who takes pictures so horrible that you want to take that phone back and just bah, right on their skull, right? But we're not going to do that because we don't condone violence here, and we're gentle, kind, polite, you know, law-abiding people here on this channel, right? So here's what you do instead. Okay, so step one, you set the shot up for them first. So you are going to do the scouting, whether that's, you know, looking up on Pinterest for some ideas of, you know, backgrounds. Maybe if you're going someplace like a restaurant or an outdoor cafe, you go on Instagram or TikTok to kind of get an idea of what it looks like from different angles and different lighting, yada yada. And you are going to set up the shot for them. Basically, as if you were going to take the picture yourself, tell them, okay, this is what I want. Some sky in here. I want a full body shot, or I want a 3/4 length shot. Whatever it is that you want, which is going to bring us into point number 2, is that you have to be clear about what it is that you want. You're not just gonna be like, hey, can you take a picture of me, right? You have to communicate. Like if you want a 3/4 shot, if you want your shoes to show, if you just want, you know, detailed shots of your nails, or, you know, whatever it is, you have to be concise. Maybe even show them some picture examples of what it is that you're looking for. Point number 3, ask them for multiple shots, because then you'll get those people that are like, okay, here you go. So you ask for multiple shots so you don't just get that one and done shot where that one shot is probably blurry as all get out. Now, I done forgot what step number we are on, maybe 4, but you give them direction as you're shooting. So you ask them, you're like, okay, can you still see the sky in my shot? Are you still getting my shoes? How's the lighting? You know, you direct them during it. You tell them, okay, maybe tilt the phone this way or tilt the phone that way. You gotta direct them, you know, because they don't know. You have to be the director here. And then you check to see what they've done. If they've done really well, you know, give them lots and lots of praise. Now, if them pictures are looking crazy, you can be like, okay, I love the way that you took these pictures, even if they didn't take any good pictures at all. You can pull up your examples again and be like, I love the way that this looks. Can you get this more like this? The thing is, we do not want to aggravate people, make them angry, because an angry person, a person that is not looking out for you, is not going to take good pictures of you. Having that type of attitude, like, well, I did for you, why can't you do for me? That's not gonna, you gotta catch more flies with honey than vinegar, okay? Now, if push comes to shove, just ask them to take a video of you. It is much harder to mess up a video. Just, you know, make sure that they have the shot set up properly, you're properly framed, you're in good lighting, and you move slowly. Because what happens is when you're taking the video because you want to be able to get screenshots so you can get photos later. And if you're moving around too much, you're gonna get things that are blurry, you're not gonna be able to get a good screenshot. And if push really comes to shove, and you know, because we should not be harassing people are not obligated to take our photos, okay? If push really comes to shove, get yourself a tripod and a remote control so you can take your own daggone pictures. Or you might want to consider getting a professional photographer, because then you won't have these issues because a professional photographer is going to know. Now, as promised, here are some more posing tips from some amazing creators. I'll have their names up on the screen and I will link them in the description box so you can check them out and follow them for more.
Flirt with the camera.
Okay, so she's like, flirt with the camera. So, you know, just practice with it. It might feel a little awkward, but, you know, take some photos and see how it comes out. Okay, I could do a lean and hip. And then you make slight variations, you know, like. Okay, triple threat. Now, if you were paying attention to the beginning of the video, you know this is nothing but, you know, adjusting the weight and then playing with your hands. Ooh, the look back. And this is one of those where like the movement comes in. If somebody's taking your pictures, just have them keep, you know, taking it. If you're doing it with a tripod, just, you know, maybe put it where, what do you call that thing? It's where the shutters, the pictures are just going, brrr, you know, they taking the pictures one after the other. I forget what that's called, but you might have to change like your shutter speed or whatever. But you just kind of give like a, Oh, I love this video. I'm gonna let it play out and then we'll talk about, you know, the top 3 things that they talked about in this video.
First thing not to do.
When I take pictures, my go-to posing is kind of like, I'm constantly trying to make myself smaller. In doing that, my pictures are boring and I kind of look like awkward and stiff.
So what we want to do instead is really practice actually taking up physically more space by going into a shoulder width stance and then shift that weight onto this leg like so. Let's not stay stiff over here and feel like we're always stuck to one pose. I want you to flow. And the way we can practice that is to shift.
Very interesting and good to remember is that you don't want to make yourself look smaller, because in trying to, like, you know, scrunch over and make yourself look smaller, you actually wind up looking more awkward and uncomfortable in the photo. So what he's saying is to just take up more space. And essentially it's like the same, instead of doing this, like do this. Like, you know, everybody has their take on the same thing. Next thing he said was not to stiffen or feel like you're limited to one pose. Again, movement. Slight movement. You don't want to go too crazy. Now, if you're worried about like your midsection, like right now, my period is, you know, a couple of days off from coming. And he's like, you don't want your midsection to be the first thing, you know, pointed towards the camera. So you kind of sunk it in. So like, especially if when you shift your weight back on your back leg, it kind of already like sucks it in. And then again, we're creating shape here. So you elongate the leg. She's got the hand on the hip and then she's playing with her hair. You can do that. Okay, and then she did leg out again. And then she had her arms up to elongate the waist. Ooh, I like this one. And then you could sort of play around with it. Practice these in the mirror, because then when you practice in the mirror, you can kind of see what the camera would see. And even better, you know, have your remote clicker and take your photos so that you can see what, like, which ones you like best. I like that. Ooh, this one. She put both legs out and then she's like, boom. And then you can switch it up. Did y'all hear my bones cracking? Now, this one I can't really do because I don't have belt loops on right now, but she kind of just has the belt in a loop, like boom, like that. Ooh, this one I want to try. So pretend there's a wall here. And so you kind of tilt your body forward. Yeah, because that's creating some gorgeous shape there. And then you can just kind of play around. And that's cool. That's really cool. Like if you want something a little bit different than some of the poses that we've been doing thus far, there you go. Let's take a look at this video and then I'll come back and try out the poses. Okay, and she's using props here, and again, she's making shape and she's taking up space. She's not giving you this. She's like, oh, almost fell. Standing forward, like out, confident pose. And then you incorporate some of the other things that you learned, like the girl with the facial expressions. You might want to smile with this one. I like that one, laughing like, she's seated, so it's more like a, I don't know if y'all could even see me. This used to be my pose, like where your leg was up leaning on the item behind you. Obviously there's no item for me to lean my leg up on, but this used to be my pose. I used to call it the Danielle pose. I would have one leg up on the wall and kind of the look away. So if someone's taking your picture, you just kind of. If you looked at fashion blogs or fashion Instagrams in the 2010s, there was always that pose where people would kind of look down like they dropped something, like, what did we drop? Searching on Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest can help to yield even more posing tips. As a matter of fact, you'd probably find somebody whose body type most mimics yours. And you gots to practice, bestie. Grab your phone, prop it up, get up in there, or be in front of the mirror. You know, practice your angles, see what looks good, what may not look so good. You have got to practice, and you got to keep taking photos. Keep taking photos, keep taking photos, because the more you take photos, the more comfortable you will be with taking photos. And the more comfortable you are with having your photo taken, the more it'll look 100 times, maybe even 1,000 times better. Now, what do you wear? And it's a good thing that you are on the right channel, because if you click on this playlist here, it'll take you to my Dressing for Your Body series, where you can find out what looks amazing for your body type. Click on it here and I'll see you there.